Hello, welcome to another episode of the Law of Biblical Mechanics podcast with me, Ashanti, and Ernest R. Roberts III. This is our 12th episode. It's like perfect alignment, 12 months, 12th episode, and it's been amazing this year. We're closing it out with some good topics today. I hope that you all can join in with this one. But as always, Ernest, would you please start us off with something to get us right for the week ahead of us?
Sure. Thanks, Ashanti. And I can't believe it's been 12 episodes already. I mean, it's really amazing. And the more information that we research really can help organizations, families, businesses, and the like. And that's really what we want to do. We want to be able to serve humanity, serve society, and provide some of our feedback as it relates to some of our personal experiences along with our professional background. So I want to thank you again for having us on again.
Absolutely.
I enjoy these talks, and let's just get right into it. So today we're talking about cultivating kingdom leadership, and let's get started with just a quick scripture. Again, this is out of the Bible, and I just want to say that regardless of what your religious affiliation is, me personally, Jesus Christ, through God who manifested himself on the planet to master these forces that we're dealing with on a daily basis, is really the motivation behind why I wrote the book, and my 54 years of experience on the planet personally, and my 33 years in professional service as well. So again, I just want to preface that a lot of these things are thousands of years old, but they still are applicable in 2025 going into 2026. So I just want to encourage you to really look at your spiritual life, look at what you're doing. If it doesn't work, just pray into it and really set the tone for next year. I think we're going into some very critical years between now and 2030. And now it's an opportunity for all of us to kind of take stock of our life. And, if there's bad branches or bad trees, it's time to prune the trees so we can bear fruit, right? So the first scripture is Matthew 12:37, and it's simple. Jesus was teaching again, and he basically was saying, by your words you're justified, by your words you're condemned, you're snared by the words of your mouth. And again, I think a couple of podcasts ago, we talked about the power of the tongue. If you haven't heard that, that was a very, very powerful clip. I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that. But again, it goes back to us as human beings being able to frame our existence and frame our reality based on the words that we speak. But you can't speak something that you don't have on the inside of you, whether it's good or bad, right? And so people say, well, I just said what's on my mind. Well, you might want to check that, because if the results are not there, then you might want to get your mind renewed, right? Okay, that part. So why I say that? So, in this first part, we're talking about that we are responsible for taking accountability as leaders. And I think it's important. And it starts with your mouth. Just real quick, my thoughts are going into the next year, I always do one-on-one meetings with my staff. And what is the purpose of that? The purpose is for constant communication. And what went right that year, what went wrong. And it's an opportunity for my staff to give me feedback.
Absolutely.
And, I can't be into my ego enough to think that everything that I do is 100%. There's things that I may not have given attention to because I was maybe busy or distracted, and it's an opportunity for my staff to give me feedback to say, well, these things worked, but moving forward, we could be more efficient here, and here. And again, as a leader, my job is to take notes, go back, and especially developing the next fiscal budget, what is the responsibility of me as a leader to make sure that everybody has what they need? Yeah. If there's any conflict, to make sure that that's addressed, and to make sure that everybody has everything to be successful. Because again, these are your workers. These are your subject matter experts. And it's funny, anybody that's been through project management or a master's program in public administration knows that 90% of your time is spent communicating.
Yes, it is.
So whether you like it or not, whether it's in memo form, whether it's in meetings, whether it's in emails, so on and so forth, that's why it's important. Anybody that's in leadership that thinks that what comes out of your mouth in communication is not important, that's a major red flag. Yeah. Whether you're the president all the way down, you have to make sure that whatever comes out of your mouth is sincere, that is direct, but that is not condescending and sets a cantankerous environment. Because you can sink stock markets, you can cause wars, and I'm talking about high leadership, governmental leadership, for instance. I'm using that as an example. But anything that's coming out of your mouth is very important. And I give the example in 2012, just briefly, there was an oil tanker disaster off the Gulf of Mexico. And it was one of our case studies when I was doing the project management professional license certification. And he was a vice president. He worked his way up. He was a petroleum engineer, very smart individual. He was giving testimony to the Senate Armed Services Committee to find out what happened. There were 12 people that lost their lives. And he got caught on a hot mic saying, I'd rather be on vacation right now than to be sitting here.
Yeah.
And it was probably, he was there for about 2 weeks, 8 hours a day. And I know it's grueling. But when that came out on a Tuesday. By Friday, the stockholders got together and they fired him, gave him his stock severance and told him to get out. Because that sent ripple effects all the way through. And if you think about it, these families have lost a loved one. The oil prices along the East Coast went up. And his response should have been, we really feel bad for the loss of life. We're going to look into what happened structurally, and we will provide whatever support is needed. And something along those lines. But the empathy was not there.
Exactly.
And he wasn't wrong. But the problem is, when you get to that point, you can't say anything out of your mouth and think it doesn't have consequences.
Exactly.
And so I just want to back up and say, from an organizational standpoint, a lot of organizations need to start to be held accountable for the type of leaders that they put in. Oh, you're a subject matter expert. Say if you're on the private side, you're a very smart petroleum engineer, or you're an accountant, or whatever the case is. That doesn't automatically qualify you to lead anybody else.
Exactly.
You're a subject matter expert, but leadership, again, has certain parameters that you have to make sure that you understand, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where the key is, right? And if it's on the government side, it isn't because I'm connected to so-and-so and that's why I got this position, because that's even worse.
Yes.
Right? Because as soon as that person's not there or something happens, now you get exposed, and it's even bad. On both sides it's bad. So organizations really need to be held accountable as it relates to who are we putting in positions of leadership. Because again, it affects the residents, if you're in a community, stockholders for a private organization, whatever have you. That is very key. And it can sink or it can move your organization forward depending on who you have there. So I just wanted to put that there, that's what we want to start as a foundation. Your mouth, having discernment, and being able to take personal responsibility.
Yes, and you speak highly on the empathy part of being a true spiritual leader as well as a work leader, right? And that too can sound like duality, right? Like, how do I do both? Because in a lot of the times it's a position whereas you're in power, and with that power comes politics, and you get real comfortable because you see you have the power sometimes, depending on the organization or wherever, especially in politics and government. It comes with a power, and we see it a lot nowadays, even in the entertainment world, where these people get empowered, they get comfortable, they say what they want, they do what they want. Who's going to stop me? As we always speak of the ego trip, right? So I want to get to what you define as workplace drama versus healthy communication, which I think you kind of hit on that already. But that kind of leadership causing drama within the workplace, how do you handle it coming in as your own person and this spiritual leadership that you demonstrated earlier with what you were saying?
No, I get it. And Ashanti, let me just go back and say that there's another scripture, Matthew 23:11, where Jesus is talking again. He who is greatest among you shall be a servant. He goes into this whole thing that anybody that wants to be out front needs to be in back. So, again, we have a wrong perspective of leadership.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is a lot of leaders are very, let's just say they lack a lot of skills that they should have. And they know subconsciously they lack those skills. They don't want the organization or their staff to know that they lack the skills. So they overcompensate with the ego and with dictatorial tactics. That right there sets a lot of issues in place, and playing favorites as well.
Yep.
In organizations. Also, something that's come to my mind, I've had a lot of my colleagues come to me in different organizations, and one of the issues that they're having is when their boss or manager is basically using their ideology and using their skill sets to go and they're taking it as their own and taking credit for it and not giving credit to the person that actually crafted that particular PowerPoint or principle or whatever the case is. So I think that's a major issue. You want to be out front. Everybody wants to be out front. Look at me, and it's an overcompensation. Is really what it is. And again, I go back to what I said earlier about organizations not taking accountability to say we put the wrong people in these positions. Yeah. Because if I'm having a lot of workplace drama, it affects scope, schedule, budget, research. It affects quality control, all the major elements of project management and getting things done. Why? Because there's underlying things that are going on. It's like anything else. In a marriage or in a business relationship, if you don't communicate and you don't express to the other person this is what's going on, it's not going to go away. It's only going to fester to the point where it's going to reach a crescendo and it'll end up destroying the whole thing. Yeah. I think on this planet right now, human beings really don't understand the power of the tongue, and it's on my mind really big, because as a leader, your words matter. Mm-hmm. And whatever conflict that you have to make sure that you nip it in the bud early. Mm-hmm. And as a leader, you have to be able to see things from a 40,000 foot view. You have to see that there's an issue that's going on between these two individuals, or one department's not talking to the other department, because ultimately upper management is going to look and see, oh, these things are not getting done. Why is it not getting done? And then when people go behind your back as a leader and go to, say, HR or go to high administration, that's also bad too. It fosters a lack of trust. Yeah. And what it also does is like a cancer in the organization. Mm-hmm. So as a leader, your responsibility, again, and I mentioned this on other clips, and you need to go back to our Instagram. Everything is there under our podcast, where we talked about having discernment, and we also talked about one-on-one meetings and dealing with things as a direct approach. Yes. We have the direct collaborative approach, avoiding and smoothing. Mm-hmm. The last two, red flags. You don't even want to have to deal with that. And avoiding is the worst, because it's not going to go away. Oh, it'll work itself out. Well, no, it won't, because there are structural reasons why things happen in organizations. And a lot of times it's people trying to have what Dr. Martin Luther King used to say, a drum major mentality. Everybody wants to be out front. Everybody wants to be seen, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it has to be structured correctly. Exactly. If I'm a leader and I'm presenting something, I'm going to have that subject matter expert next to me in those meetings, or at least in the presentation portion of it, and they'll get their shine on it too as well. I'll say, this individual is my planner. This planner was able to do X, Y, Z, and I'm going to let them get their shine because they're part of my team. Mm-hmm. And that's what people don't realize is everything is under your organization. So if an idea wins, everybody wins. Mm-hmm. It isn't little I, big U, and all of that kind of stuff. It's basically as a collaborative approach. I appreciate everybody within my sphere of influence. As a leader, it is my responsibility to check the atmosphere and make sure everything works well. Mm-hmm. So to your point, I got to deal with it. I got to make sure that if there's issues, we have closed door meetings, maybe individual meetings, get down to the root of it and deal with it. If it's something and some things can't be dealt with, you have to escalate them. But 9 times out of 10, if you deal with it early, you can kind of get everybody on the same page. A lot of it may just be a misunderstanding. Yeah. I feel a certain way. A lot of that comes from observation, association, and teaching. Everybody was raised a certain way, and some people have, I would say, childhood traumas or things that happened to them where now, even as adults, they have to overcompensate. I have an individual now that grew up in a big family, and that individual, he tries to overcompensate by going above and beyond, but it gets to be, just overkill. Yeah. And so I've had conversations with this individual and said, hey, you need to relax because I'm more concerned about your physical health because you take everything personally. Mm-hmm. And so when we had a conversation, he told me about his childhood and things like that. I kind of gave him some suggestions as to how to mitigate that. And he came back to me weeks later and said, hey, Ernest, I want to thank you for that because now I'm more relaxed. I'm able to kind of control my emotions in dealing with this situation. That's what you want. Everybody that's under your sphere of influence should feel important to what you have going on. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be winners. We all want to be recognized for what we want. We want to be compensated well. And that's really it, because we spend more time in our businesses or our jobs or our professions, more so sometimes than we do with our family. So you definitely do not want to have that situation, because it could affect you physically and otherwise.
Right. And then remembering your purpose for why you are walking in those footsteps, right? Because you are put in that position to have to know how to work with different types of people. Because you spoke on a relationship, it's like a relationship with your family, your spouse, your kids. It is true, it's a work relationship that you're building. And with that comes this certain commitment to be honest, work with integrity, be humble in your approach, and direct with these people, but in a way where it's coming off sincere and with empathy, rather than I'm right, my ego is right, I'm here to rule you, dictate, tell you what to do. So I think that when you talk about remembering your purpose and commitment to a healthy work culture, can you get into like steps or how to follow through with that? Because sometimes you get in this position and you forget, you get thrown off when you see, hey, people are respecting me. I never, oh wow, like look at this, they trusted me, and you get big headed, you know what I mean? So how do you stay focused on what your main purpose is to be there and look outside of your ego?
Sure. Well, that's a great question, Ashanti. And I think, again, I think about the scripture in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing your mind. Your mind, basically it's the spirit, your mind, will, emotions, intellect, and imagination, right? Those are some of the elements that make us up as an individual. You have to have control of those things and understand that, again, there's a kingdom of God principle, and then there's a world system. The world system is selfishness. It's based on, look at me, I got to be out in front. We don't care about the effects of other people. It's a very self-centered, I, me, my, I don't care what the impact is to other people. We're here to serve everybody, right? And again, we talked about servant leadership, and my administrator at the village that I work in, he's very good at that. And I have to give him credit, because when I first joined, that was not the culture that I was used to. The culture that I was used to was more dictatorial. Again, when we came to change management, when it came to a lot of other issues, either you made the change, did what you were supposed to do, or you can find something else to do. So I think that one of the things that I kind of wrote down, especially when it comes to spiritual leadership in the workforce, is KPD. Know your people, protect your people, and use discernment. So know your people. You have to really understand your staff. And I'm not saying you got to get all in their business and personal life and things of that nature, but you really need to sit down and find out what their goals are, what their needs are, what are their issues. What are their frustrations? What works? What doesn't work? And again, I go back to my one-on-one meetings. I think it's important. You, as a leader, have to take time out. You have to walk around. You have to make sure, get a pulse of what's going on. I talk to my people all the time. As busy as I am, and as much things on my plate, dealing with schedules and being out of the office, when I'm there, and sometimes I'll use, maybe Fridays or the end of the day to kind of walk around and kind of say, hey, how's things going? If there's any issues and things. And that's why I like my one-on-one meetings. So I think, again, the atmosphere has got to be set by you, number one, and know your people. You have to know all of the issues that are going on, good, bad, or ugly, and then decide in your mind from a 40,000-foot view and be realistic. These are some of the things I can change. These are some of the things I may have a little bit more issues changing, but I'm still going to work to do those things because you brought it to me. That's respect. And as a leader, I know I can't get things done if I don't have the proper team. I've had people, and not to blow my horn, but I've had people come to me and say, wow, I want to be part of your department. It's like, I've known this person for 25, 30 years and they had a bad attitude, and now they're smiling, they're speaking and all of this kind of stuff. And I don't personally take credit for it, but it's an effort. You have to make an effort to know your people. That's number one. Number two, protect your people. A lot of times when you're dealing with especially on the government side. I don't know how it is privately, but we have to enforce policy, right? We have to enforce things from a regulatory situation, from a resident's perspective, and when you're working for a village or municipality, there's things that people don't like. They've gone for years, and all of a sudden now we're changing rules on how things are to be conducted. Whether it's code, property management, or developers coming in, these are procedures that we expect for you to follow. And it may not be the case in other communities, but through trial and error, we were able to figure out this is what has brought us the most success in this situation. So people come after us and they try to slander us and do certain things, or people may get up at board meetings and things of that nature. Me as a director, I already know pretty much all of the issues. And I have to not only in defending my people, I also have to remain professional as well, right? And so, obviously, even if they made a mistake, I'm not going to call them out in a public forum. I'm going to deal with it behind closed doors. Same thing that a husband and wife should do. And it's all about respect. Respect is key. I respect my people. I respect what they bring to the table. They're on my team. I take personal responsibility. And it goes back to the stewardship clip that we talked about too, right? Because these people are entrusted with you. You're entrusted with resources, time, energy, and the like. And it's your responsibility as to how well you steward that, whether or not you can go to the next level for yourself and everyone else. Because ultimately, I want everybody to win and everybody to succeed. But as a leader, it takes commitment and it takes dedication consistently over time to turn that ship in the direction that you want it. And lastly, discernment, I think, is really important because, again, it goes back to spiritual principles. A lot of the answers I don't have on my own because it just goes beyond the natural realm. And sometimes I have to pray into it, I have to meditate into it, and I'll be in my study or I'll be doing something and literally the answer will drop into my spirit. And I kept thinking, man, how come I didn't think about that earlier? I should have implemented that. But again, a lot of times there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of observation association teaching. There's a lot of five senses type things that get in our way. And we have to tune the noise out. And that's why sometimes I disappear. They're like, Ernest, what happened to you? I haven't seen you in like a month, but then, and sometimes I have to turn everything off, especially during the holiday season and things of that nature. Everybody's running around. But this is a time for me to reflect on, number one, that I'm very thankful for everything, for the people, yourself, and everyone else has been in my life to be able to push me to a certain level. And number two, to really be honest about what's the next level. Where are we supposed to go? And anything that's within my sphere of influence, we talk about enlarging our territory. Well, your territory can't be enlarged if you can't deal with the territory that you have now. And so, any type of thing that the enemy tries to get in, poison the atmosphere. And a lot of it, again, it goes back to ego. Everybody wants to be seen. And how do you kind of mitigate that and at the same time kind of give them their kudos, even though they may not recognize it, and still get the job done. So it's almost kind of like a psychological thing that you have to do, but as a leader, there are certain things that you really have to implement. But you can't get that, in my opinion, without discernment, understanding what the truth of God's word is, number one. Number two, kingdom principles. And number three, being a servant leader comes into that as well. I want to be in the background pushing everybody else. I may be the engine, but you don't need to see me. Necessarily. Most leaders want to be seen. They want to say, look at me, because again, they don't want to be exposed for what they necessarily don't know. But I told you again, and then, again, go back and look at the clips. Leadership is one of the weakest positions in any organization, whether it's project management, director, whatever have you. They're very weak because you don't know everything, but you don't have to. Your job is to make sure everyone else is at their peak performance. So again, it's a lot of big responsibility. Much is given, much is required. So that's what I would say. Try to practice those things and look at situations for yourself and figure that out. And I think that over time you have to be reachable and teachable to be able to do those things.
You do, and that's a beautiful way to look at it, changing the perspective in the mind, as you said, the shift in that, in order to become that person that walked those big footsteps in any organization. So I love how you said that. But we're going to close out with a reflection. I want to get back to the remembering who you are. when you talked about your purpose, right? I want that to be the message for the week for everybody, because sometimes we get distracted. As you mentioned, there's distractions, there's things that happen in life that sometimes we're not able to handle at that certain time, and then still have to present ourselves to people
Sure.
as
Yeah.
if everything is okay, and it's not. So I want to get specific as a reflection for our audience and ourselves on knowing ourselves and our purpose here, and not forgetting that and the importance of that, which I think that you demonstrate very well in the way that you speak to the audience. We've had plenty of feedback. People really appreciate the words that you spread, the message that you spread each month to our audience and to people who are watching. Join in, we want to hear that. But if you want to just provide us with a final say on that,
Sure.
and then also your website, social media, how
Sure.
people can get in contact and follow you, Ernest.
Sure. Well, I just want to point out something during this holiday season now, and it was brought in one of our department meetings, the importance of mental health. It is a major issue. I was really shocked at the amount of issues that we've had regionally in this area of mental health, and it could be a variety of things. But especially during the holidays, a lot of people are not as joyful because of certain things that have happened, and a lot of times it affects how they operate. And again, as a leader, I just want to say that whatever services are there for people, to be able to reach out to check on your people, family members, and I talked about that at our holiday party that I had with my staff. Passed out some information. Reach out. I could be a resource, or whoever's in charge could be a resource. But make sure you check out your family. Make sure that everybody is good. Everybody is in a good place, because don't assume. People put on a good facades and things of that nature. But again, you have an enemy out here that's really trying to affect people's minds. And that's more on the spiritual level. But to your point, I would say in general, as far as purpose is concerned, our purpose is serving. Our purpose is leadership. Our purpose is really to, as God mentioned in the book of Genesis, that we're supposed to subdue this planet. We're supposed to cultivate it. This planet is made for human beings. And I think God wanted to perpetrate himself in families. I think that's important too as well. So as you move forward with your life, it's not all about us four no more. We have impact or responsibility to make a mark that cannot be erased, right? And so that's my personal mission with the Law of Biblical Mechanics. And as a consultant, I also have done a couple of speeches and things like that as it relates to certain other opportunities to get out to do leadership and things of that nature. So we have a website. It's www.rcepllc.org. My book, The Law of Biblical Mechanics, Principles and Processes for Management and Stewardship. I know that's a tongue twister, but that's also on Amazon and Kindle as well. And we also do, speaking engagements. And what I said earlier, I meant it. As far as organization is concerned, a lot of organizations need some of these principles too in order for them to get better. Because a lot of times you don't think that that's an issue until it becomes one.
Yeah.
And so these are specialized skills that you may or may not learn in graduate school, management school, but these things can make or break your organization. So I have a passion of that. I have been really impacted, especially over the last 5 years, to be in a position to say, wow, I can make an impact and spread some of these principles. Mm-hmm. So I just want to thank you again, Ashanti, for just another great year. And just in 2026, look at your purpose. What am I supposed to be doing? And do it. Okay? And that's the key. Don't procrastinate. Write down what you want. Listen for God, listen to God, and do what he tells you to do. That's what my pastor always says, Dr. Bill Winston at Living Word Christian Center. Love him and his family. And, again, some of these principles you'll see in the next coming years are going to be critical, because natural solutions are not going to work anymore for natural problems. Exactly. So just keep that in mind too as well. Hope you all have a great holiday season and all the joy and the blessings that could come to you. Yeah. And it's just been an honor and an opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. It has been an honor. We look forward to the next year together and to share with you in the next year as well. I hope that you continue to stay in tune with us. Go back, look at some of our videos, our previous podcast episodes. We are on Spotify. We're on iHeart podcast, Instagram, YouTube, and then, as you know, Ernest's website, as he mentioned. So please stay in tune with us. Give us feedback. We look forward to another year with you all. Many blessings to you and yours, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yes, be blessed.
Be blessed. Peace.